Hey everyone, my name is Venti and we have what is probably the best eShop sale in a long while, and that is saying something because the sales have been insane. So here we have a list of 16 truly amazing games all at a new lowest price. So let's get right into the deals. First, let's go back in time to the SNES era with Live Alive. Highly regarded as a revolutionary RPG, it was finally brought to the West in the fantastic HD 2D style that Square Enix does so well. This game offers a unique storytelling experience with its multiple storylines set in different timelines. The gameplay varies on each of these chapters, and in the end, it all comes together tying up what at first seemed to be pretty isolated stories. This game is a classic for a reason, and this modern remake has a lot going for it. Although the higher price point is what I believe has kept many people from picking this up. Keep in mind that the EU regions get a much better discount, but still, on its first ever sale at $34.99, this is truly a game for the ages. Next up is The Messenger, which is an absolute gem of a game that pays homage to the old retro platformers such as the original N-Gaged, while at the same time feeling fresh and unique. In here, you play as a ninja who just survived a demon attack on his village, and must deliver a scroll which is paramount to your clan's survival. There is a really cool time travel mechanic which will have the game shift between an 8-bit and 16-bit style, while also changing the gameplay focus between platforming and combat. It also has a very humorous and cheesy narrative, which, as a huge retro games fan, made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. At its lowest price ever of $4.99, you better ninja this one. Monster Train is, in my opinion, the best roguelike deck builder out there, and I remember clamoring for it to come to the Switch, but now it's here and all is good. In this game, you will be trying to defend your pyre from the invading forces of heaven in strategic turn-based combat. The game has a great presentation with its colorful visuals and cartoony characters, and its gameplay loop is extremely addictive with a ton of different strategies to build the deck around, which helps keep the gameplay feeling fresh after every run. Now, the game's expansion is included in the Switch version, which adds a considerable amount of content to what already is a pretty impressive game. At its lowest price ever of $11.99, I'm all aboard for this deal. The next game is Tales of Iron, which is a captivating action RPG with brutal combat. You play as Reggie, the heir to the Rat Throne, as you try to fight off the merciless Frog Clan to restore your kingdom. The game's atmosphere is one of its stronger elements, from the beautiful hand-drawn visuals, impressive soundtrack, and a narrator played by none other than Doug Cockle, the voice actor for Geralt from the Witcher series. The game is quite difficult, but if you are a fan of Souls-like games, this is one of the best ones on the Switch, and at its lowest price ever of $7.49, this deal is to die for. Next, we embark on an epic RPG adventure with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. You don't have to have played the previous Xenoblade games to enjoy this one, since it has a pretty self-contained story. However, for fans of the series, this one really ties the previous two games together, and we get to unravel the consequences of the events of the last games. The combat is cooldown based, and in my opinion, with the newly added class system, is the most refined yet deep it's ever been in the series. Also, it has an incredible story that is up there with the best in the genre, which is sure to keep you engaged throughout, and the soundtrack, just like in all Xenoblade games, is pretty incredible. At its first ever sale of $41.99, I'm really feeling it. Also, the deluxe edition with the expansion pass is also on sale, so you might want to look into that. Curse of the Dead Gods, a challenging action roguelite set in a dark world where you will be traversing Aztec-like temples in the pursuit of untold riches and eternal life, but at what cost? The game's combat is excellent, using a stamina system to balance both offense and defense. This theme of balancing one thing against another is permeated throughout the game, like curses that will have you gain immediate benefits at the cost of building up gradual adverse effects. Also, the typical feeling of progression found in roguelite games is only enhanced as you become more proficient with both your weapons and your enemies, as you gradually become a lean, mean killing machine. At its lowest price ever of $7.99, cursed be the day you let this deal pass. Next up is Card Shark, which fittingly enough might deceive you into thinking this is a card game. Or a game about sharks, I guess, I don't know. But no, this is a thrilling adventure game, all about learning the tools of the trade to cheat your way to wealth and riches. The game features real techniques used to cheat in card games, which is amazing to be honest. The story is set in 18th century France and it's filled with cunning and intrigue, and is a truly unique experience. The game is relatively short, but it's excellently well done, and the story serves as a way to wrap everything together nicely. Now, I've always had a big interest in magic tricks and how they're pulled off, so this was right up my alley. Picking this up at its lowest price ever of just $9.99 will almost feel like cheating. Shantae and the Seven Sirens. This is a great colorful adventure platforming game with charming visuals and catchy music, and it's the latest game in the series. However, you don't have to have played the previous ones at all to enjoy this. The game's fusion mechanic will have you gain new abilities to be able to traverse the map, unlocking new areas in typical Metroidvania fashion. The artwork and animations are very well done, and the boss fights are particularly memorable. The difficulty is on the easier side, making for a more casual experience and particularly great with the young ones. At its lowest price ever of $14.99, and given that this game rarely goes on sale, right now is the best time to answer the Sirens call. Up next is Persona 5 Royal. This critically acclaimed JRPG has you uncover the mysteries of a strange supernatural world, along with a cast of extremely memorable characters, in a story of intrigue and personal growth. The combat is turn-based and it's extremely engaging. There is also a social aspect to the game that has you learn more about the characters, which in time has you become emotionally invested. The aesthetic here is extremely stylish, and it's only elevated by its excellent soundtrack. Also, the Royal Edition has a ton of extra content put in, like new characters and story arcs, to what was already one of the best JRPGs out there. At its lowest price ever of $35.99, this one will definitely steal your heart. And speaking of stealing your heart, next we have Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, which is arguably one of the best RPG adventure games ever made. The game is set in a fantasy open world, inhabited by many dangerous monsters, which you will have to best by any means necessary if you want to recover your heart, which was taken from you by a dragon at the very beginning of the game. In typical Capcom fashion, the storytelling can be a little bit wonky, but the combat is where the game truly shines, evoking some Monster Hunter vibes with things like climbing up giant monsters to gain an edge. It has an expansive magic system that has received a huge amount of praise, with a sequel already underway, which sadly isn't announced for the Switch, and at its lowest price ever of a ridiculous $4.99, you better rise up to the occasion. Next up is Inscryption, which was one of my favorite games of last year, and untangling it was one of the most satisfying gaming experiences I've had in a long while. It is extremely difficult to nail down just what this game really is without spoiling the experience. However, this is a deck building roguelite at its core with a very dark aesthetic and atmosphere, but it is so much more than that. In fact, I'd argue that even though the deck building aspect is so well made to the point that it could even stand up on its own, it is merely a vehicle through which the game conveys its amazing narrative, which has a lot of twists and turns. If you're even remotely interested in any of this, I really strongly suggest you give this one a go, as it's one of the most innovative and unique games I've played in a while, and it's all about the experience of going into it blind. Also, if you would like to hear more about my thoughts on the game, I have a review for it which I will put in the pinned comment down below, and don't worry, it's completely spoiler free. At its lowest price ever of just $12.99, there is nothing cryptic about this one, it's a clear must buy. Up next we have the Portal Companion Collection, which includes the two games in the series. These games not only define what the puzzle genre is today, but also help set the bar for storytelling and writing in gaming. You will be trying to escape the grasp of an evil AI named GLaDOS, which has you solving test chambers not unlike a lab rat. The puzzles themselves are extremely clever and have you use the titular portal gun in very different ways. It is amazing how the simple mechanic of opening a portal from point A to point B can be used as a Swiss Army knife to approach a myriad of different problems. Now, I know I have said this multiple times in this video already, but truly, these two games are a masterpiece and some of the best games ever made. Right now, you can pick this collection up at its lowest price ever of just $9.99, which is absolutely worth it. Especially with what I've been hearing about getting a cake after you beat the game or something like that. Rogue Legacy 2, the sequel to one of the most defining games in the roguelike genre, and it not only builds on what its predecessor did, but also on what the genre has become ever since that game came out. In this challenging roguelike Metroidvania, you will be venturing for the randomly generated dungeon with a randomly generated hero. You could get a vegan barbarian with dwarfism or a colorblind ranger with chronic fatigue, changing the run in a variety of different ways. After you die, you will be able to spend the gold you earned on permanent upgrades for future runs, and one of your children with their own unique quirks will succeed you for the subsequent run. At its lowest price ever of $18.74, only a stubborn rogue with hates great deals ism wouldn't pick this one up. Next up is Bug Fables, the Everlasting Sapling. Now, this game is a true spiritual successor to the first two Paper Mario games, and let me tell you, this game is riddled with bugs, but not of the Cyberpunk 2077 on launch situation, but more of the insectoid kind. In this turn-based RPG adventure, you will lead your small party of bugs on a journey to uncover the secrets of the land of Bugaria. The combat isn't very challenging, but you can always toggle a hard mode if you're into that. The game has a sizable amount of content and there are a ton of optional bosses and secrets you can pursue. It is an extremely bright and cheery game. From the tone to the aesthetic to the music, the game just oozes charm. This is truly a jam, and if you're like me and miss the old Paper Mario games, this one is definitely worth a pickup. At its lowest price ever of $7.49, you can see what all the boss is about. Now, Monster Hunter Rise is a game that needs no introduction. It's not only one of the most graphically impressive games on the Switch, but it also has one of the most dedicated fanbases out there, which is in part thanks to Capcom's ongoing support and updates to the game. The gameplay loop is pretty simple. Hunt monsters for their parts, craft better weapons and armor from set parts to be able to hunt even more dangerous monsters. Rinse and repeat. Now, instead of the typical hero classes, in here your weapon will determine your playstyle, and mastering just one weapon feels extremely satisfying. And you will need to do so because, well, the monsters are no slouches either and are really the highlight of the game. Now, this deal is available in both the Americas and EU regions. However, the discount on the EU was the better one, reaching a new lowest price of only £13.99 British pounds. There's also a bundle with the Sunbreak DLC included, which is cheaper than buying them separately, so you might want to look into it. This next deal is only available in the Americas regions. It's the incredible Tunic. And even though the cute visuals of the game might have you thinking that this is a more kiddier Zelda, make no mistake, this is a very challenging game in both its combat and its puzzles. As there is no tutorial or any instructions given, and must instead figure out everything on your own. To aid you, you will find pages to an instruction manual, very reminiscent of the ones that came with the NES and SNES games back then. However, it is written in an incomprehensible language, and so you must use your intuition and the images provided to figure things out, as it has vital clues for solving puzzles and on how to defeat the game's bosses, which, speaking of, these battles are excellent but very hard. And you get this great feeling of satisfaction after finally figuring out a difficult puzzle or triumphing over a tough boss fight, as these feats feel a bit more personal having figuring them out on your own. At $20.99, this is the first time the game goes on sale, and like I said, the discount is only available in the Americas regions, so friends over in Europe you will have to wait a bit, but don't worry, I will keep you posted. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and oh my, what a sale this was. So many excellent games and new lowest prices. Tell me, did you pick anything up? Maybe something I missed? I mean, with so many great deals, I could only fit as many in this video. Anyway guys, as always, have a great day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!